Okay. Sam and I teach these two classes, over 1,000 students. That's a high percentage of the students, certainly of the undergraduates. When we walk around campus, very often there'll be these people who look at us oddly, or they start talking, and we suspect they're people in our class. Instead of doing that, come up and introduce yourself. And we'll try to remember your name. We might not. Give us your UTE ID, maybe we'll remember that. And I have very poor facial recognition, a condition known as prosopagnosia. We'll talk about it later in the class. Which means, if you come up and introduce yourself to me, the next day you come up and you're wearing different clothes, there's a very good chance I won't recognize you. But I might remember your name. Okay, but in any case, we do want for you to come up and talk to us. We'd like to hear more about you as well. Okay, now it's time to get to the nitty-gritty of this course. This course is a fun course. You're going to learn a lot in the class, but it's also a very difficult course. We urge you to go online, look at Rated Prof or these other things, and you look at our ratings. And the one thing that people always say is, this is a hard course. Expect the worst. The goal of this class is for you to think. We want you to start thinking psychologically. The way that we evaluate the course is we're going to have a series of benchmarks over the course of the semester, essentially tests every class period. And it requires you, the questions will be based half on the reading and half on the lecture. And in the reading, and in classes as well, there'll be lots of facts thrown at you. But we're not going to ask you about really trivial things. We don't care about names of people. We're interested in ideas. And that's how we're going to be assessing you. Is how are you able to think about ideas and use them? In other words, the first reading has a million names in it. Neither of us expect you to remember all those names. But we do want you to know what is a functional perspective versus an evolutionary perspective versus this versus that. In other words, this is an idea course, not a fact course. Now, what makes this course revolutionary is it's a heavily digital course. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about this digital classroom that we have in mind. First of all, beginning Tuesday, you will be coming into class with a digital device, laptop or iPad or any kind of digital device. You will be taking a benchmark.
Wi-Fi, needs to be Wi-Fi enabled.
It's got to be Wi-Fi enabled. And if you have a computer or something that's a little bit old and the battery can't hold the charge for an hour and 15 minutes, you need to sit in these rows right here. If you'll look under your seats, you'll see that they're plugged. And so I'd like to reserve those seats for people who come in with a computer that has some problems. Also, if you don't have a Wi-Fi enabled device, a way to think about this is this class, we do not require a textbook. We currently, introductory psychology, if we had a new textbook in this class, you would buy one that would cost $170, which we think is obscene, which is one reason why we switched to an all-online group of reading. However, if you don't have some kind of web-enabled notepad or something like that, you can get one online, you can get one at CVS Pharmacy for about $100. So it's cheaper than a textbook, is the way to think about it. Now, they're not very good, but they're good enough for what we need in class. When you come into every class, you will go on to a system called the Tower system. The Tower system has been developed here at the University of Texas. Sam and I have been really central in developing this, along with some remarkable programmers, including John Gomer, who's back up there, and many others who've been involved in this. The system is a pretty slick system. And this is what it would look like. This is the Tower system. When you log on, it will have your email address, your EID, and the benchmarks. That's code for test. We didn't want to call it test. Test sounds so negative, so last year. We're calling them benchmark assessments. They're benchmarks. Think about it in a more optimistic way. In any case, every day when you come to class, you will take a benchmark assessment, which will be assessment of about 8 questions. In addition, before class, we want you, the very first one is the required survey. We need to have you fill that out. We want to know more about you. We want to know what kind of equipment you're using, if you've taken intro psych before, a few other questions. If you don't want to answer the questions, click on an option that says prefer not to answer. So you need to answer all of those questions. You can do that now. You can do that anytime before class. By the way, the Wi-Fi device that you bring in, be sure you have used it at the University of Texas before. You have to have it so that you can go on the restricted network at UT. If you come in with a new Wi-Fi deal that works at your home, it will not work in this room. So make sure that you have used it at UT, getting on the restricted access Wi-Fi system. If you don't know what I'm talking about, talk to somebody who's sitting next to you somewhere else. Yes?
What is it on? Like, I don't pay for the internet.
You don't pay for it, it's free.
It's
free
free.
for all students.
There's different types, but the basic one is free. It's just a restricted free Wi-Fi access. Okay? And so the tower system is a real slick one because this is where the benchmarks are going to be. We're going to have group conversations. It'll be on here. In class, we'll stop almost every class and have you fill out a survey for the day that we'll talk about, and you'll get feedback. So the tower system is one that we are going to be working. We will be working with starting on Tuesday. Okay, now. Now, how do you get to this class? The gateway to this class, the gateway to truth, is that website, www.psy.utexas.edu/JP301. That will get you to our class website on any computer. You can go through Blackboard if you want. We don't use Blackboard. So you can go through it any way you want, and it gets you to the class website. From the class website, this will be what you will see when you log on. It has all the information you need. You get the tower, you click the tower option, and the second thing you'll see is syllabus and reading assignment. When you click on this, go ahead and click on this. This is our textbook. This has all the readings for the class. Now, I should say the readings are good for the first several weeks, and later readings are going to be updated as we work on them some more. If you look at the very first one, when you click on that, you're going to find the first reading assignment for the next benchmark is a Wikipedia page. Well, what kind of deal is that? Your high school teachers told you that Wikipedia was probably evil or wrong or stupid. Well, guess what? Wikipedia is a really good source. It's not a perfect one, but Sam and I and TA have gone through and vetted these, and these are good sources for this course. And there'll be some Wikipedia, there'll be some YouTube, there'll be articles written by scholars around the world, but this is going to be the nature of our reading. And the benchmarks are going to be based off of the reading, half from the reading, half from the lecture. So it's really critical that you come. Okay?
Yes, and so why are we doing this? Why are we having these benchmarks every week as opposed to a number of times? Doing it for a number of ways. One of the reasons is that it allows you to constantly keep track of how well you're doing and if necessary adjust your learning strategy. So if you find, and there'll be feedback, you'll see once you start taking, there'll be feedback on which sorts of questions you're getting right and which ones you're having more trouble with. That will allow you to focus on where the problems lie and address them much more effectively. So you don't have to wait until the first midterm or the second midterm to realize that things are getting off track. You'll know constantly how well you need to do in this course to get the grade you want. And they're also very useful because in addition to questions about the readings and about the lectures, as the course goes on, you'll also get an opportunity, when I say opportunity, you will get questions that you have previously answered wrongly. And what's good about that is that it allows you to when you get something wrong, go back, what was wrong about it, how did you get it wrong, and then you, in the future, you have an opportunity to take that question again. So it gives you an incentive to make getting something wrong into a learning opportunity rather than just, oh, well, I got it wrong, move on. It allows you to improve on those topics.
Now, it's important for you to appreciate this web page because the web page also has a lot of information on, it's got grades and study tips, and also course philosophy. And you were handed out these things that will tell you how the course grading system works. The grading system is based on two things. On the benchmark assessments and also on the writing assignments. There will be, your first benchmark assessment will be this coming Tuesday. It's going to be a practice. It's going to be the only one that you will not actually get a grade on. Well, you'll get a grade on it, but it won't count. After that, every class will be a benchmark assessment, and it will be worth 3.6% of your final grade. Now, you can not do, three of the 25 are only worth 1%. Meaning, if someday you just don't feel like doing it, someday you make a 0, someday you just want to take a vacation, that's fine with us. You'll get a 0 on that day, but that 0 will only count 1%. In other words, it'll have virtually no impact on you. This is why there are no makeups. You can also, if there's some reason you have to be out of town, or you're sick but not sick enough that you are dying, but you can struggle to a computer, at the time the class starts, you can take your benchmark assessment from home. You can do this up to 5 times. After 5 times, you will have to do additional ones during the final exam period. You will get an essay exam instead. So we have the benchmarks, but we also have 4 writing assignments. And the writing assignments, we will announce these in class. The writing assignments are graded on whether you do them or not. The writing assignments are actually interesting. Some of them will be some writing demonstrating a particular point that we'll talk about in class. Some will be interactions with others. And very often you'll get feedback about you, your personality, through computerized text analysis methods. The 4 writing assignments are required. Each one is worth 3.6% of the grade. In other words, they're worth about 14% of your final grade. So that is how the grading system will work over the course of the semester. Okay. Yes, the archive. Let me tell you about this yellow sheet. You may not know this, but the University of Texas is one of the premier psychology departments in the world. Now, this is really true. It's an absolutely phenomenal psychology department. In our department, we have some of the leading scholars in social and personality and evolution, in behavioral neuroscience, developmental psychology, cognitive, perception. It's really a truly phenomenal group of faculty members. One reason we're such a good research department is because we do experiments. And we do experiments, a lot of our experiments are done with college students. And there are 2 issues here that are going to be important in this. First is that there is an experimental requirement that is expected of all introductory psychology students. When you go to the experimental requirement on the web page, you will find out that you will be required to participate in 5 hours of experimental participation. And if you don't want to do that, you can write a paper instead. Now, this experimental requirement is not governed by us. It's governed by the Psychology Department undergraduate office. Sam and I have no links to it. If you have a problem with the experiment, we can't help you. You'll have to deal with the experimental requirement people. Doing the experiments doesn't influence your grades, but it does influence whether you get a grade. If you do not complete your experiments on time, by the end of the semester, you will get an incomplete in the course. And the only way that incomplete can be released is if you do the experiment. In other words, please read about the experimental requirements, and it will all become complete.